the world that walks backwards. Aaliyah and Theo stepped through the glowing portal. The light faded, and they landed. Splat! In a puddle of cold, gooey mud. Aaliyah, Theo groaned, brushing sludge off his coat. Why do time portals always drop us in something squishy? She grinned. Better than lava. They looked around. They were in a narrow street, lined with tall buildings made of stone and iron. Lamps hung on wires above the road, but the flames inside flickered, backward. Smoke was curling down into the chimneys. Aaliyah pointed. Theo, are those birds flying backwards? Up in the gray sky, a flock of crows flapped in reverse, wings moving in slow, jerky beats as they flew backwards across the clouds. Not just the birds, Theo said, adjusting his goggles. Everything's moving in reverse. A man on the sidewalk tripped, then stood up before he fell. A woman laughed, then covered her mouth as if surprised, her smile rewinding into a frown. Aaliyah watched in amazement as a cart full of spilled apples rolled back together, the fruit leaping off the ground and landing perfectly in the barrels. This place is bonkers, she whispered. It's a reverse time zone, Theo said. Rare, dangerous, and very unstable. Why? Because time hates being flipped. It stretches, cracks, eventually it snaps. Suddenly a loud crack echoed through the air. The ground trembled, and something roared. They turned toward the sound. A massive tear in the sky hung above the city, like a wound of light and shadow. From it, strange shapes drifted downward. Gears floating like jellyfish, broken hourglasses, sparks of gold. And below it stood a building wrapped in thick vines of rusted metal. A giant clock tower, tilted and broken, its face spinning backwards. Aaliyah's eyes narrowed. That's the fracture, isn't it? Theo nodded. And whatever's guarding it won't be happy to see us. They ran toward the tower, weaving through people moving in reverse, their steps skipping like old film. As they reached the edge of the square, Aaliyah stopped. A huge statue stood at the center. Only, it wasn't just a statue. It moved. Not like a person. More like a machine pretending to be reborn. Its arms were made of bronze and glass. Its face was a smooth, blank mask with one glowing eye. It turned its head. It saw them. Boom! It stepped off the pedestal. The Guardian. Theo breathed. But this one's different. Faster, smarter. It raised a hand, and a swirl of reversed wind spiraled toward them, sucking in everything around it. Leaves, dust, paper, even a wooden bench. Aaliyah ducked just in time. They sprinted down a side alley, the sound of the Guardian's heavy steps echoing behind them. We need a plan, Aaliyah shouted. Theo stopped behind a crate, pulling out his pocket watch. There's a short window every few minutes when the time flow stutters. If we can hit the tower then, we might reverse the reversal. Cool. So how do we get inside? We'll need to sneak past the Guardian, climb the tower, and activate the time beacon at the top. Aaliyah groaned. Always climbing. My legs are gonna turn into noodles. Theo smiled. Time noodles. She rolled her eyes. Let's go. The Guardian stood guard near the tower entrance, its glowing eyes scanning everything. Aaliyah waited behind a barrel, watching the time flow carefully. A bird flapped forward for a second. There! A blink in the luke. Now! She whispered. They dashed across the plaza, leaping over puddles and cracks. The Guardian turned, but too late. They were inside. The tower creaked and groaned as they climbed. Paint peeled in reverse. Rust unflecked itself from the rails. At the top, a strange machine waited. A spinning orb suspended above a bronze pedestal. Theo handed a prism made of crystal and gears. This will fix the beacon's direction. Hurry! Aaliyah placed the prism in the slot. The orb flared with golden light. Time slowed. Then, the spinning reversed again, this time forward. Bells rang across the city as the flow of time flipped back to normal. Outside, people gasped, confused but awake. Birds chirped the right way. Smoke rose into the sky. Children laughed. The Guardian let out a low, broken sound and collapsed it to dust. Later, as Aaliyah and Theo stood in the town square, people clapped and cheered. Theo looked proud. You're getting the hang of this, Aaliyah smiled. I guess I'm a time hero now. Then she noticed something on the Guardian's remains. A symbol burned into the metal. She bent down. Theo, look. A twisted version of the clock mark she carried, only this one was broken, cracked through the center like shattered glass. Theo stared at it grimly. He's getting bolder. Who? The one who started all this. The one tearing time apart. He's marking his territory. Aaliyah stood. So what do we do? Theo looked at the sky. We find him. We stop him, and we put time back together before it runs out. The air shimmered. Another portal opened. They stepped through. The portal closed behind them. Aaliyah blinked, adjusting to the light. They stood in a glimmering city made of white stone and silver glass. Trees lined the walkways, their leaves sparkling like they were dipped in morning dew. The sky overhead swirled with soft gold clouds, and strange birds glided in slow circles. It was beautiful. Too beautiful. Theo looked uneasy. "Something's wrong," he said. "Looks perfect to me," Aaliyah said, tilting her head at a group of smiling children walking by. "Watch," Theo whispered. A tall man in a blue coat stepped up to a woman selling fruit. He picked an apple, smiled, and spoke. "I remember eating this tomorrow. It was delicious." Aaliyah frowned. "Did he say tomorrow?" Theo nodded. "Welcome to the city of forgotten yesterdays. Here, people remember the future, but forget the past." "Wait, what?" "They know what's coming, but not where they've been. It's like living backward through memory." Aaliyah stared at the people. Some were painting walls that were already dry. Others walked around confused, asking strangers what they were doing. A little girl skipped past, humming a tune she hadn't heard yet. "This is," Aaliyah began. "Upside down," Theo finished. And then they heard it. A voice, high, echoing, and soft like velvet. They came, just as I saw, the apprentice and the wanderer. They turned. Standing in the shadow of a silver archway was an old woman, her eyes glowing faintly blue. She wore a gown that shimmered like the night sky. "You're a seer," Theo said. The woman smiled. "I was, before the cracks came. Now I am only a reminder." "A what?" Aaliyah asked. "Someone who reminds others of what they were, before they forget." The woman looked at Aaliyah. "You carry his mark," she said. "But you are not him. You are the key he lost." Theo stepped forward. Who's behind the fractures?" The reminder's eyes flickered. "He was called the clockmaker. Your master. Your friend." Theo's mouth fell open. "No, that's not possible. He vanished. He didn't cause this." "He didn't mean to," the reminder whispered. "But he opened a door no one should have opened. He tried to stop time from breaking, but the door took something from him. And in his place, a shadow grew." Aaliyah's stomach sank. "You mean, the villain behind all this was the clockmaker?" "Not exactly. What returned from the door was not the man you knew. It was his broken half." Theo shook his head. "No, I don't believe it." The reminder touched his shoulder. "You must, or the cracks will keep spreading." Suddenly, the sky darkened. A loud bell rang across the city. People screamed. Up in the clouds, something was moving. A huge shadow. Not a creature, but a machine. It looked like a giant wheel with arms, each holding a swinging pendulum or spinning gear. Eyes of red light blinked across its surface. Theo gasped. "The memory eater." Aaliyah grabbed his hand. "That name is not comforting. It steals time," Theo said, "and erases memory." The reminder stepped back. "He sent it, the shadow clockmaker. He wants to erase your journey before you remember too much." The creature let out a deep and mechanical moan. Then it dived. People scattered. The city glitched, buildings flickering like skipped pages in a book. Theo and Aaliyah ran, ducking under an arch as the creature swept past, tearing through memory like paper. "Where's the time fracture?" Aaliyah yelled. Theo pointed toward a spire in the distance, surrounded by golden mist. "There!" They raced up a spiraling path, dodging broken memories, floating shapes of people, echoing voices, moments half remembered and fading fast. At the top of the spire, a crystal orb hovered above a stone platform. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "The core of memory," Theo said. "If we can reset it, the city's time will return to normal." Aaliyah stepped forward. The memory eater appeared in the sky above, gears screaming. Theo handed her a silver pendant glowing with blue fire. "Use this." Aaliyah nodded and placed the pendant into the core. Light exploded outward. Time surged. The memory eater screamed and disappeared, crumbling into light and sparks. The sky cleared. The city sighed. People looked around and started whispering, "I remember now. My name, my home." Aaliyah exhaled. "We did it." Theo nodded. "But now we know the truth." "The clockmaker caused all this." "No, his shadow, it did," Theo said quietly. "But if there's a shadow, maybe the real clockmaker is still out there, and we have to find him." A new portal opened in the sky, humming like a heartbeat. Aaliyah looked at Theo. "We follow the trail?" He smiled. "We follow the future." They stepped through the light. The portal opened over a sea of red dust. Aaliyah stepped out and immediately stumbled. The heat hit like a blast furnace. Theo landed beside her, shielding his eyes with a copper scope. Before them stretched an endless desert, rippling with heat. But this wasn't an ordinary desert. Over the dunes, time moved differently. Near the portal, the sand shifted slowly in the breeze, but far ahead, the dunes flowed and collapsed like rushing rivers. A stone tower in the distance crumbled and rebuilt itself again and again, like a time loop gone wild. "Okay," Aaliyah said, "this place is a bad idea." Theo scanned the horizon. "We're in the sands of speed. Time here accelerates the farther you walk. So if I walk 10 steps, an hour might pass. And if I run, years," Theo said grimly. They stood still, silence. A single silver tree stood nearby, its branches covered in white leaves that never moved. Theo took out his pocket watch and adjusted the dials. "We can anchor ourselves with this, but only for a little while." Aaliyah sighed. "Let me guess, we're heading toward the tower." He nodded. "The fracture's at its base, and maybe something more." Aaliyah took a deep breath. "All right, let's go." They stepped onto the sand. With every step, the wind grew faster. Time around them sped up. Rocks eroded to dust in seconds. A skeleton in the sand was swallowed by shifting dunes. The sun raced across the sky. Theo kept one eye on his watch. "We have 30 minutes before the anchor fails." Aaliyah wiped sweat from her forehead. "Great! Nothing like a deadline in the middle of a boiling time trap." Suddenly, a shadow flew overhead. They ducked as a massive winged creature soared past, a dragon-like beast made of rusted metal and glass. Its wings beat so fast they blurred. "What was that?" Aaliyah shouted. "A time worm," Theo said. "It eats time bursts and guards fractures." "Why does everything want to eat time?" "Because time is the most powerful thing in the universe." The tower drew closer, but so did the worm. It circled above, sensing the change in time around them. Its eyes glowed blue. Then it dove. "Run!" Theo shouted. They sprinted over the sand, the ground shifting beneath their feet. Time flickered and bent. Aaliyah's hair grew 2 inches. Theo's boots aged into cracking leather. A nearby cactus bloomed and died in one breath. The tower loomed ahead. Just as the worm dove, Aaliyah threw a metal disc into the sand. Boom! A blast of reverse time surged outward, knocking the worm off balance. It shrieked and spiraled away. They reached the tower and ducked inside. Inside, the air was cool and still. The walls were covered in strange writing, symbols carved deep into the stone. At the center, a glowing orb floated over a pedestal. But next to it, a chair, a work, and a book. Theo approached it slowly, his hand shaking. "This was his," he whispered. Aaliyah looked over his shoulder. The book was filled with diagrams, sketches of portals, notes in sharp, careful handwriting. At the end of the book, a letter. "If you found this, then my time is nearly gone. I've seen the shadow I became, but I left pieces of myself behind. Memories, clues, hope. If Aaliyah is reading this, I'm sorry. You were meant to inherit the watch, not the war. Find the final key. Restore the central clock. Time can still be saved." The clockmaker. Aaliyah stepped back, stunned. "He knew me." Theo turned the page. A map was drawn there, faint but clear. A path through the next 3 worlds. He left us a trail. The tower shook. The worm screeched outside, clawing at the walls. Theo placed the crystal orb into the pedestal. Click. The fracture pulsed once, then sealed. The wind stopped. The tower fell silent. Outside, the worm vanished into smoke. Back at the portal, the sand was calm again. Aaliyah looked out at the desert. "He left us a message. That means he's still out there." Theo nodded. "And we're gonna find him." They stepped into the light. The portal opened high above the clouds. Wind rushed past Aaliyah's ears as she and Theo landed, not on the ground, but on a floating island made of stone, moss, and sky crystals. Dozens more islands hovered in the air, each slowly drifting in a great spiral around a glowing core in the distance. They were in a world of floating islands, and time itself danced in loops. Aaliyah stood, her boots crunching on the crystal grass. "Well, we're flying?" Theo steadied himself, goggles fogging slightly. "Sort of. This is the looping realm. Time here doesn't move forward, it spins in circles. Like, people live the same day over and over?" "Exactly," Theo said. "And they don't even know it." Just then, a girl with red hair skipped past them. She hummed a tune and tossed a paper flower off the edge of the island. 30 seconds later, she skipped past again, doing the exact same thing. Aaliyah blinked. "Is she looping?" Yes, everyone here is. She looked around. Shops reset, birds flew the same path. A man tipped his hat, walked 6 steps, and then started over again. This is creepy, Elia muttered. Theo pointed toward the sky. The fracture is at the core loop, the island in the center. But we have to cross 6 loops to reach it. Each one is tighter and harder to break. They began the journey, leaping from island to island using floating bridges made of light. At the first island, the loop lasted an hour. The people were calm, unaware. The second island looped every 20 minutes, then 10, then 5. By the time they reached the 5th island, time reset every 60 seconds. Elia watched as a young boy built a tower of blocks, again and again, only to have it vanish before he finished. She knelt beside him. "What's your name?" The boy looked at her blankly. "I forget." The loop reset. The boy started building again. Theo tapped Elia's shoulder. "The closer we get to the core, the more tied gets himself. If we don't anchor our minds, we'll start to loop too." Elia held her pendant tightly. "Then we'd better move fast." They reached the final bridge. It led to a platform surrounded by golden clouds pulsing with light. In the center, a glowing clock spun wildly, its hands twisting like vines. And standing beside it was a figure in a dark cloak. Elia froze. "Is that?" The figure turned. It wasn't the clockmaker. It was Elia. But younger, smaller, and her eyes were empty. Theo stepped in front of her. "It's not real. It's a memory echo. This island doesn't just loop time, it loops you." The younger Elia spoke in a soft, mechanical voice. "You left. You forgot. You never came back." Elia's heart pounded. I don't remember this place." Theo gently took her hand. "You were here, a long time ago. Maybe as a child, maybe before the clockmaker found you." The younger Elia pointed at the clock. "Break the loop, or you'll lose yourself." Elia stepped forward. The loop pulled at her thoughts. She saw flashes, memories, a swing, a box of tools, laughter, a promise made and broken. But she pushed forward. At the base of the clock, a crystal key waited. She grabbed it and slammed it into the gear slot. Click! Time jolted. The clouds stilled. The loops unraveled. The figure of young Elia faded, smiling, then vanished. The fracture shimmered and sealed shut. As they walked back toward the portal, the people on the islands moved freely for the first time in years. Laughter echoed through the skies. Elia looked back. "I was here, before all this. Before Theo, before time even cracked." Theo nodded. "The clockmaker knew." "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because the truth might hurt," Theo said gently. "But you're strong enough now to face it." She held up the crystal key. It glowed with golden light. "It's one of the final keys," she said. "We're getting close." Theo smiled. 2 more to go. The portal opened. They stepped through.